Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to Two Girls Without Cancer. I am your host, Becky Turner, here without Ashley. Again, unfortunately, she is just under the weather. And, we didn't want to delay anymore. We know that Tuesdays are our publishing date. Today's Wednesday. We obviously did not get it out yesterday, but that's okay because I have a really great guest here. His name is Alex, and he's going to teach everybody about his company, Strong Sapien Systems. He is a chronic pain expert. Now, as someone who's been through cancer, Ashley and myself included, we're always in pain. I was just telling Alex off stage, I am so uncomfortable all the time. I like to blame it on my setup. It's actually just my body. I'm so uncomfortable all the time. So I'm really, really excited to have this conversation with Alex. So here we are, Alex Shulman. Hello, welcome.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you. Your background is amazing. Where are you?
I'm in my brother's backyard. Actually, I'm about to train my sister-in-law for this exact chronic pain deal.
I love it.
Yeah,
Amazing. And so where are you from? I guess we should let everyone know.
I'm from the Boston area, so just
Mhm.
west of Boston, the next city over, Cambridge, Massachusetts.
Right. Okay. Is
Yeah.
that where the university Cambridge is? No, that's in
No,
England, isn't it?
England.
Okay.
There's
All
a
right.
there's a
Never mind. I don't know
comparable one
anything.
there called MIT, which is
Right. Okay. See, I know a thing or two. Now
yeah,
I'm in Canada.
yeah.
So I mean, obviously we're not super familiar with what's going on in the States, but welcome anyway. I'm happy to have you. I am excited to pick your brain for the next half hour. I'm excited to know all about what you do, Strong Sapien Systems. Like I was saying, in the intro, I have a lot of body pain, like post-cancer, my
Mhm,
body aches all the
mhm,
time. And I just figured, you don't use it, you lose it kind of thing.
mhm,
It's been 2 years where I haven't been overly active. And
mhm,
maybe that is the case, but it's like, God, I can't have a good sleep anymore. I can't sit
mhm,
anywhere. If I go places, like I went to a
mhm,
string quartet concert recently, the whole
mhm.
time I was like just so uncomfortable. Is this like the kind of people you deal with?
Actually, yeah, pretty much.
Okay, you're hired.
Yeah, I mean this is kind of obviously it's not great that you're uncomfortable and have these pains, but it's great that we can kind of use a real case right here, right now,
Yeah.
and explore how and why that happens and
Hmm.
how you can actually measure the outcomes of that improving.
Hmm.
And that's I mean, if you want to jump right into it, that's a great place to start. Like give something people to sink their teeth into, so to speak.
That sounds amazing. And it's really too bad that Ashley's not here because she's also in a lot of pain. She had a bunch of surgeries. She lost a lot of weight during surgery. She lost a lot of meat during surgery, or during recovery.
Mm.
So when she comes over, she brings in like one of those orange bum tubes to sit on, like the donut.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
sometimes when we're recording, you can hear like, because it's her adjusting because she's so uncomfortable. And
Yeah.
me, it's more like, I don't know, my back, maybe my hips. I don't know. I just
Mhm.
don't feel comfortable in my skin. Like everything just bothers me.
Mm. Yeah. It's That's a good place to start because that's kind of where a how do I say this? Like a fitness program and a, let's say, holistic strength training program differ, where
Hmm.
you can kind of train strength in general, like
Hmm.
barbells, dumbbells, copy some Instagram influencer, and most people will be fine with that. They gain some muscle, they gain some confidence, they have these improvements, but it's a catch-all approach, right?
Yes.
So when you have this, like these, like if you're just trying to sit comfortably, sure, having bigger hips, bigger hamstrings, bigger glutes can help. But
Hmm.
if you're constantly adjusting, it's like you're still not getting to the root of why you're not simply able to sit comfortably. Like not everyone with a lower level of lean body mass sits uncomfortably, right? So it's like the conclusion that just more muscle is better for everything
Hmm.
is not always true, but it is true up to a point, which kind of gets a little messy there. But in terms of measuring the results of what you're trying to achieve and trying to address chronic pain and trying to like systematically approach this,
Mm-hmm.
it's really about what your measurables are. So lean body mass, that's that's kind of easy to track. So people that kind of jump to that, or weights on a lift. And then you have the subjective measures of like how you sleep, how you feel, how comfortable you're sitting. And those are two examples of measures, but on the objective to subjective continuum. But when you're trying to get good and accurate results, you need specific measures that relate directly to how your body kind of experiences like sitting and standing at a standstill.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're trying to make sure that your body isn't just like comfortable sitting and standing, but the transitions to and from these feel like, oh, I'm well put together, I'm strong.
Mm.
I don't
Yeah.
just have more muscle, but I have like more coordination and control.
Yeah, that makes
All this
sense.
together. Yeah.
I don't feel like that. Like I'll be sitting, let's say I'm on my couch. I go
Hmm.
to stand up and I'm like, oh, okay. Like just give it a second, like stretch it out.
Yep.
And
Yep.
I'm like, I'm not that old, you know?
Yeah.
I'm not morbidly obese. I'm also not 12 pounds. Like,
Hmm.
I've
Yeah.
got some meat on my bones. I'm like, why is this
Hmm.
happening to my body? And I really was just believing like because my
Hmm.
muscles have sort of atrophied. Chemo is
Hmm.
very hard on the body, right?
Yes.
Radiation is very
Yes.
hard on the body. I'm wondering, but anyway, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. Please tell me more about Strong Sapien Systems. Tell me about your background. Tell me why you wanted to help people.
We'll get back. We'll get back to what you said after I do a little more intro and with
Sure.
that. But that's, I mean, it's like I said, like that something for people to sink their teeth into. That's still important. Like your experience of your chronic pain or your body, and that it's a subjective measure, but it's still important.
Right.
And so, yeah, we can talk about that in a minute. But yeah, so basically, in my practice, very broad. I know chronic pain, like pain that lasts for more than a day, a week,
Yes.
basically. But typically, it's there's always some postural evidence.
Hmm.
It for some people it might be a postural cause, like if they're at a desk all day, yeah, the slouch.
That's me.
Some cases, it is that simple. It is that simple for some cases, but
Okay.
for most people, there's other things going on. Yeah, now
Right.
you're sitting up straighter, right?
I can't do it. It's too much work.
Right. It's like, oh, you can train your muscles and train your body, but you haven't trained your alignment
Yeah, really.
to be comfortable with that at rest,
Yeah,
right? So
there's no comfort in this whatsoever.
right. So
There's no confidence.
that's kind of like how we talk to people who are dealing with some kind of pain. It's like
Hmm.
we're trying to get to the root cause,
Right.
and we need to determine whether if it's really just strictly posture, or is it like have you built in some like limiting beliefs of like you can't do this, you can't do that, and then you can't challenge and improve, right? It's like with someone without chronic pain, but they just feel weak. They go to the gym and they have these limiting beliefs like, oh, I can't squat, I can't deadlift, I have to
Hmm.
use the machines, I have to do this and that. And they can kind of work around it to some degree, but eventually it catches up. Right? Eventually, like, okay, I don't feel stable on my feet, even if I use these machines, even if I use these bands, like something's disconnected here.
Right.
And then they go and train like squats and deadlifts and they feel a little better. And then, maybe they're good for a while, or they have good stress management and they're good for a long time. But it's like in terms of the people I'm talking to, it's not people who are just like trying to lift a little more in the gym. The people I'm talking to, they're trying to get back to their daily life and beyond, right? Ideally beyond, right? It's like, I mean, let me use a client as an example so I don't keep rambling. Um, so I trained this person with, clearly they had scoliosis.
Hmm.
It was like just a few degrees, not like a major drastic difference. But you could tell it was like, oh, that lower back is not supposed to be off to the left. Right? That's definitely not supposed to happen.
Hmm.
And this is a result of like 10, 15 years of physical therapy, post birth, like lack of post birth healthcare in the US is the whole rabbit hole we don't have to go down, but that was present.
Canada too.
Canada too, yeah, Western world, I guess.
Yes.
whole rabbit hole. Not my specialty, but the thing that she was trying to do was to resolve the chronic pain, obviously. But what was important in the process was like, oh, she wants to be able to spend time with her family without that being in the back of her mind. Like, oh, is this too much? Is this walking too much? Is this, being in the park too much? Like, that's going to really take her out of the moment and really interfere with this, living her life. So pretty much the clients that I see and the results we're looking for is, how do we make this not something you think about all day, but actually like you can see it resolving, right? In a perfect world, I could snap my fingers and charge whatever for that snap and they'd be fixed. But most cases, you have to timeline it. You have to be like, how do we measure and make sure you're making progress? Like this week to next week, this month to next month.
Mm-hmm.
And for her, part of that was the scoliosis. Like she was still in pain for like the first month, but she was full into the process, right? She was like, I want to fix it. It's going to get fixed. We're going to do it. And I told her, like, this is kind of like a 3-month timeline,
Right.
but she wanted it much faster. And so she kind of got that essentially 99% corrected scoliosis in 2 months.
Well,
And she was like sore, like she got hit by a truck the whole time. And I was like, okay, you accelerated the results, but there's a bit of a ask for that.
right.
And then the next month after that, and the third month, I was like, okay, now you're kind of like getting a 1 out of or 2 out of 10 of pain scale, whereas before you were like 6 or 7 that month prior. So this is like, hopefully that gives some context into
Yeah.
what I usually deal with.
May I interrupt for a moment?
Yeah, please.
Can scoliosis be corrected after, I don't know, the age of 14, 15, 16? Like it can
Yes.
as an adult?
So this person was actually in their 50s, early 50s.
Whoa.
And
Okay.
I guess we could link that I guess you could just go to my Instagram. I think it's one of the pinned posts. It is one of the
Yes.
pinned posts. It's like, again, it was a mild case, right? Like just a couple degrees, but still you could tell the difference. There was a difference. And so that's a special case, right? And the special part of it is that she was just like full in. Like no other, like she wasn't like doing yoga on the weekends, she wasn't doing other programs, she wasn't like, she was just all in on just getting to the root of the dysfunction in her core and her hips and her shoulders and her ribs that was contributing to the chronic pain, to the scoliosis. So yes, it is possible. And if I don't know if I probably have to say this. Mild cases take less time. Severe cases take more time. But I want to make that point because when you're in chronic pain, it's very hard to think clearly. For lack of a better word, it's very hard to like live your life, but it's also very hard to find a solution. Right? It's to discern whether or not something is helping you or not. So that's why I like reminding myself, like, we have to talk about measurements and results, and that's kind of like the heart of it in terms of like the clients I train, the ones that do the best, they're engaged, they're asking questions, they're thinking about, is this target, am I getting closer? Right? Not am I hitting it the next day? Am I getting it instantly? No, am I getting closer? How do I know? And part of that, the cherry on top of that is that a lot of the anxieties around like doing something physically, mentally challenging get resolved because you're measuring.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully I answered the question. I kind of went off on the extra intro, but
okay.
Okay, here we go.
I find this very interesting because when I was 15, I bought a new bathing suit. My mom said, you better show it to me before you're going anywhere. You're not going out in that bathing suit until I approve it. So I put it on and I'm standing there. And I remember her saying to me, stand up straight. And I said, I am standing up straight. She's like, no, you're crooked. Stand up straight. And I was like, Mom, I am standing up straight. And so she comes over and is like, you are really, and I'd never been to a chiropractor ever in my life or anything, physio, nothing like that. And so I think she brought me to the chiropractor and they were like, yeah, your daughter has scoliosis. It's, again, pretty mild, probably like this client you were talking about. But they said because she's 15 or 16 or however old I was, we can't correct it at this point. So
Mm-hmm.
now fast forward to, I have a 12-year-old daughter. I brought her, she's, usually pretty sore. I brought her to chiropractor and he was like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, she has scoliosis, like just mild. And he goes, I
Mm-hmm.
can correct it before she turns 14, 15, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So then in my head, I was thinking, okay, you're 38, Becky, like you can't actually fix what your back is doing. And I'm often, every time I go chiro, physio, wherever, massage, they're like, yeah, your hip is here, your leg is there, and your and like that, kind of
Yeah.
just awkwardly standing, even though I feel like I'm standing straight. So I just assumed that this was, life. This is how I have to live from now on.
Yeah. That's, again, not to put you on blast, but that's kind of the limiting beliefs that
Yeah,
I've had to learn to work with. Like, knowing the techniques, knowing the strategies is good. Sorry for the noise.
that's okay.
Um, learning techniques, the strategies, the plan, the game plan. That's all good and necessary, but it's the limiting beliefs that kind of become the biggest obstacle.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's actually rather simple once, like, you can, maybe you have strategies to manage your anxiety. You can get a clear discernment of, like, you've looked up a few options of what you can do. Chiro, PT, massage. Some weird guy on the internet saying he's a chronic pain specialist. You look through these options and you make a
Yeah,
decision based on the judgment of, like,
yeah.
what is the result I want? What am I trying to get to? And
Mm-hmm.
it's actually incredibly difficult to get there if the longer you've dealt with something, the longer you've been in pain, the longer you've been deliberating, it's incredibly difficult to get there. And then you're like, with this example client, it's like, oh, 2 months later, like, this didn't happen for 10 years, at least 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
But because she just went in, kind of shoved the anxiety aside, the results happened. And 2 months is, I don't know what percentage of 10 years is that, but it's very small, very small.
You're very,
Um,
very small. Yes.
but yeah, so it is possible, and I can kind of go into the principles a little bit if that helps. But I'm trying to think of, like, what's going to help the audience the most right now. If you have any
Mhm.
ideas.
Well, I think, just knowing that things can be done. Like we talk about
Mhm.
this often on this show, like limiting
Mhm.
yourself because of mindset, right? Like all
Mhm.
last season, it was mostly just Ashley and I talking, but basically
Mhm.
about like
Mhm.
almost like having to fake it when we were going through like the heavy stuff because it was
Yeah.
like I
Yeah.
wanted to feel like a normal person.
Mhm.
I wanted to feel like I could do stuff. I wanted to feel like
Yeah.
I wasn't dying, let's say, quote unquote.
Yeah.
Um, so it's like just knowing that like your mindset is sort of everything, attitude is everything, your beliefs, what you believe about yourself is anything or everything.
Mhm.
Like that negative self-talk can put you in such a hole. So
For
even
sure.
even something like scoliosis, right? I just heard that I could never deal with it. And so for the
Yeah.
rest of my life, I just have to have a sore back. And don't get me wrong, I had sore backs constantly and sore hips even before getting sick. Like I
Mhm.
always was sore. I
Mhm.
just assumed it was because I had, I don't know, big boobs or because I don't know, I slept
Mhm.
weird or
Mhm.
whatever. My back
Mhm.
was just out. I would always say I just have a bad back, whatever. But like it's nice to hear somebody say that like I actually don't have to live like that.
Yeah, you really don't. And it's, of course, I've dealt with my own limiting beliefs, still do. It
Yes.
kind of just, they just kind
Human
of change.
nature.
Yeah, change over time. Like, I tell myself it's genetics. Like, I can't sleep well
Yeah.
because the way I was born, or my environment, or my upbringing, or, like, every reason under the sun that, like, you know every time it's like, if I think about it for more than a minute, it doesn't make any sense. It's like
Mhm.
completely, and at best, it's like, okay, my genetics play a part, but, like, what can I actually do? What's actually going to make a change? And it doesn't matter if that change is big or small compared to some arbitrary measurement, arbitrary standard,
Right.
right? So I'm, like, constantly, like, bring it back to the measurements. Like, how are you making sure you're progressing, whether that's health or anywhere else?
Mhm.
So yeah,
I think people also forget to realize that everything is very bio individualized. Like
yeah,
you
yeah,
can't, there's no like perfect system for what works. We talk
yeah,
about this with cancer all the time. What works for
yeah,
me does not work
yeah.
for you. And that's because we have a different body, we have different
Mhm,
attitudes, different
mhm,
mindsets, different genetics, different histories. So it's
mhm,
like, no two systems are going to work the exact same.
For
And,
sure.
what baseline for me might be a completely different baseline for somebody. So yeah, that bio individualized system, basically,
Yeah.
when it comes to any sort of healing, is really important to remember. Just because somebody healed, let's say, their scoliosis in 2 months doesn't
Mhm.
mean that I'm going to heal my scoliosis in 2 months. But
Right.
maybe my attitude isn't as good or gung-ho as that lady's was, or
There's a
whatever.
million factors. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
There's definitely a lot of factors. But like you said earlier, it's helpful to know that progress is possible.
Yes.
And like you said, like human nature is to get into the weeds and the specifics
Of course.
beyond what is helpful.
Yes.
So I mean, for sure. I think actually my own testimony to what my training has done for me might show how bio individual it can really be. Like I'll just
Hmm.
kind of rattle them off. I started
Please.
with go ahead.
No, I said, please tell us. I want to hear all about your
Yeah.
history here.
So I for 15 years I struggled with eczema, autoimmune eczema,
Mhm.
and it was like I'm pretty sure the hospital that I went to in Boston is like top 3 in the world or at
Wow.
least top 5, like MGH, Massachusetts General Hospital.
Mhm.
It's somewhere in the top 5 or 3, but they had like one dermatologist on staff, and I guess that's what all they needed. And basically said like, yeah, we don't know. Take topical steroids, manage your stress, eat well, move, whatever. And it's like,
Hate
okay,
that.
not really telling me what to do here. I don't really like. You're supposed to be the gold standard, and this
Literally
is
in the
yeah
world.
in the world. So it's like yeah, like I dealt with it for like 7 or 8 years, and I like had a severe flare up like 5 or 6 years ago. I think 2019, 2018, and it was just like I guess that was one of the many turning points of like okay, there's something else that needs to be done here, not just
Mhm.
lifting weights like a bodybuilder fashion, not just like eating fruits and vegetables in just a generic way. It's like there's something specific going on. So like fast forward a bit from autoimmune eczema, sleep apnea, like yeah,
Sleep apnea in your
yeah,
early
yeah.
20s?
I'm laughing
Wow.
because like I'm remembering people complaining about my snoring, and I'm like, okay,
As
that's
just a
good.
boy, basically. Like, you
Yeah,
don't expect that till, someone's, like,
yeah. It's like
overweight or older or
or even it's like normal. It's like it means they're getting a good deep sleep. Like that's a lot of
oh,
I
okay.
hear that a lot. It's like normalized. It's like, no, you need to be able to breathe smoothly
Right.
in your
Yes.
most restful part of the day. It's insane. It's like again, that's part of limiting beliefs too. It's like what is normalized and what is like normalized for you living with pain. But
Mhm.
last thing I'll say from my own experience is that, after the eczema, after the apnea, my hobby is judo, martial arts.
Oh, cool.
And so that's it can be rather intense. It should be if you're doing it right. And that with the apnea and eczema was like a mess of like I couldn't live my life the way I wanted to. Like I couldn't even begin to like orient myself towards like a productive, like fulfilling experience of life.
Mhm.
And I really had to pull from like a lot of these methods. Like I guess I'll just name drop the biomechanics training I did. They're getting pretty well known. It's called functional patterns.
Okay.
I had to seek out coaching for that. I did like their 150 $100 course, whatever, for 10 weeks to
Okay.
get the basics. I sought out coaching for that. I had to look into nutritionally. This guy called Ray Pete. He has a lot of articles, very like biochemically heavy. Like you have to know a little terminology, but that's not really an excuse anymore with AI. You can just like copy and paste and translate for you.
Explain
So
this to me, computer. Yes.
yeah, pretty much. And it was like, okay, so these two together basically resolve these issues, like the biomechanics, the aligning myself. That helped me have a smoother intake of air. Like
Oh.
I'm really giving the cliff notes here, but it's like it was kind of like going like vertebrae by vertebrae, joint by joint, muscle by muscle, to find which parts weren't working as much as the others. and connecting them in relation to how you walk, run, like stand, walk, run, and throw.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, in like half an hour when I see my sister-in-law, that's going to be one of our baseline tests, is how well can she run full out. Like, these are the kind of measurements and stress tests I needed to use, so I wasn't just like, does it feel better, does it not, was it because I slept well, was it because I didn't, was it because I'm
Mm-hmm.
stressed, was it because I'm blah blah blah. It's like, these are the kind of measurements that kind of grounded me and anchored me to keep getting the results I needed. So now I'm 27. I started getting the eczema when I was 12. And this past winter was my first winter without a flare up at all.
Wow.
And so, but I didn't start using the methodologies like in earnest until like 2-3 years ago.
Mm.
So it's like, you know, sometimes you have to, it sucks to say this, but sometimes you have to be in the chronic pain for a while before you're willing to try something that isn't.
Well, it's like your rock bottom, quote unquote. I mean, it maybe it's not
Right,
as aggressive as some rock bottoms, but I mean, you can only handle so much of
right,
something. You know,
right.
most people aren't like, oh, I've got eczema, and then like 2 days later, like seeking the answers, the root causes, right? But 15
Yeah,
years, 12 years, however long it took before you started seeking help for it. But yeah, that
yeah,
root cause piece is very important because
yeah.
like for me personally, and I know for Ashley as well, neither of
Mhm,
us are okay with thinking like disease just happened to
mhm,
me. There's
mhm,
no root cause. Let's just deal with the symptoms.
mhm,
Like, I'm not okay with that. She's not okay with that. I still don't know. 2 years later, I don't know why I got sick.
mhm.
So, you know, it's always like a quest for the root cause. So, if I'm feeling a certain way, if my back is sore, if I have headaches, if I have whatever going on, I want to know why and I want to deal with that. I don't just want to band-aid it.
Yeah, and that mindset is so tricky to get to, because it's like you can have it and then you can lose it and then you have to gain it back again.
Yeah.
But it's always like, this is always the way it has to go to actually
Yeah.
get resolution, to get results. And you know, for me, it was a lot of maturing. I think I was very immature in my beginning to uncover this. Like, like as any guy in their early 20s would be, a very
Right? Yes.
arrogant,
Any human in
prideful.
their 20s, yes.
Right. Like, for my personal experience, it was like, wow, I wasted so much energy trying to, like, pun not intended, posture like I
Yeah.
knew a lot
Yes.
more than I did. And like,
Right.
I just knew like the right questions to ask. Like you said, like the right questions is like, how do I don't just treat the symptom, but try to get to the root, right? That in itself, like, those questions point you in the right direction.
Mhm. I am honestly just so tired of our medical system only
Yeah.
dealing with the symptoms and not getting to a root cause. Like, to me, it's not okay to just know that I have something, but not know why I have something and what I can do to change that something. And I think a lot of, I hate to say it, like a lot of Canadians, a lot of Americans are perfectly fine with that
Yeah.
answer, living on 100 medications for their problems. Like, so I see clients who come in here on all kinds of medications. I saw someone recently on 5 mood stabilizers,
Jeez.
5 of them. And I was like, and an ADHD medication, and
Yeah.
Ozempic, all of them.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, like let's see what's going on with your gut health, my friend.
Yeah.
And sure enough, it was nasty. It was horrible. But
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
this, I mean, yeah, like kudos to this person for wanting to come and change some things or find out some things. But
Hmm.
you know, the fact is this person's doctor put them on 5 different antidepressants, anti-anxieties, mood stabilizers, instead of just looking at what the problem was. And that was like, oh, I just wanted to like find this person's doctor and shake them. Like, it's
Yeah.
awful. This is awful. Like, they take a, what is it, Hippocratic oath, like, do not harm. Like, are you not harming this person by putting them on, completely numbing them, making them a zombie? I was angry. Obviously, I'm getting worked up right now. I was angry when I learned
I
about
feel
this
you. Yeah.
person's history.
I hear that. It's unfortunately, it's a very common story.
Yeah, it is a common story. You're right. And like kids too. I have another
Yeah.
family that's come a few times with their children, and
Hmm.
mom is like, I'm on a lot of medication and now my kids are, I'm trying to take them off.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Why would your doctor put them on medication to begin with? Like, did they ever
Mm-hmm.
check nutrition,
Mm-hmm.
minerals, gut
Mm-hmm.
health, like anything like this? No. And it's like, it's so frustrating to me. And so, I have teenage daughters and they think mom is like a weird hippie, whatever, but like, if they're not feeling well, like, here, take all these supplements, take all these vitamins, like let's try and let's see what your gut health is looking like today, stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that, instead of,
Yeah.
oh yeah, let's go to the doctor and get another medication.
Yeah. It's really not healthcare. It's sick care, right?
Totally. And I'm frustrated with it. And as a 36-year-old at the time who got stage 3 cancer, and actually a 37-year-old who got stage 4 cancer, it's
Mm-hmm.
like we're tired of this happening, of like this backwards reactive society or reactive healthcare instead of proactive living.
Yeah, it's definitely tough, and especially like probably you experienced a lot of it. You kind of feel like you have to figure out on your own. Like you
Oh,
have to like
yes.
pull from a million information sources. You have to
Yes.
like figure out like basically almost trial and error. Like a lot of supplements, a lot of
Yes.
vitamins, a lot of
A
foods.
lot of guess and check. Like Ashley, for
Yeah.
her too, like, I had breast cancer. I don't want to say I was blessed to have breast cancer, but there is a lot of research in breast cancer. It's very
Hmm.
glamorous to have breast cancer. For Ashley, she has
Hmm.
neuroendocrine cancer. They don't know a lot about
Hmm.
that. There's very
Hmm.
few studies about it. There's no
Hmm.
cure for it.
Hmm.
She couldn't even have chemo or radiation. Not that I would suggest that for anybody anyway, but like she couldn't have that as a way to cure
Hmm.
what she was going through. So she literally was just on Dr. Google
Hmm.
researching every supplement that she could possibly find, protocol after protocol after protocol. Her bag of supplements was like a duffel bag. And,
Wow.
sometimes you can overload your body. And it was a lot of guess and check for her.
Hmm.
She's finally found a system that works for her, which
Hmm.
is great. But it's like there was no help from any medical
Yeah.
team on that.
Yeah. I mean, it's really discouraging because like
Yes.
it's all so much energy put in, and I do want to say one thing at least to like for the people that watch this, at least like give them some principles that I found that seem to almost always be true in
Yeah.
terms of health. Like not just like move, sleep environment, like those kind of like environmental like what's the word? Like environmental cues are good, but in
Hmm.
terms of like principles of human biology that might it might help someone like get an aha moment or something.
Right.
And I'll preface this of like again, you're gonna probably have to dig through some information. And shameless plug, I coach people through these principles.
Not a shameless
Right.
plug. Sell
All right.
yourself, my friend.
All right. All the shame. All the shame. Like I coach people through these principles, and it's like you can do them on your own perfectly fine and spend the 10, 15 years I did like
Mhm.
like piecing it together. Or I'm gonna put out a 3 month and 6 month program soon, probably next week. But basically, the principles I want to lay out for people here is one for the posture training that I want to bring it back to the walking, standing, walking, running, throwing. You can essentially look at someone how they do those movements. Some people can't even run without pain, and so
Mm,
you look at standing and walking. But as soon as they can run without pain, and that's definitely like a primary goal for anyone's context, then that's your stress test. That's your measurement. Like, okay, we train these things. What's going to fail first? Are their hips like a seesaw? Are their shoulders like barely moving? Like what's showing up here? And I wish there was a gold standard, but I mean, Usain Bolt's pretty good. You can just kind of like overlay him onto whoever you need. That's kind of where I start. But for someone who has like obvious knee problems, they're like, okay, why do you have knee problems? Why aren't you like absorbing force through the ground well? And that's kind of like principally to train your posture is to train how you stand, walk, run, and throw. And
mhm.
you don't get stuck on the standing. It's very easy to because like when you have someone with scoliosis, like obviously there's improvement, but like they want to get back to like living their life and like challenging their body beyond standing still, right?
Mhm.
So that's just a principle I want to lay out. You could dive into that however you can on the internet. You can ask ChatGPT like, how do I train how to stand, walk, run, throw, and you can do all that. You know, realistically, it would take years. My goal of my program is to distill that into 3 to 6 months. With if you're running with pain, run without pain. Simple as. Hopefully, I summarized that pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
The last thing I'll say for that is like fundamentally, not to get too philosophical. Fundamentally, forces act upon us in this world, and gravity is one of those forces.
Right.
In fact, it might be one of the primary sources right before like sunlight and electromagnetic other parts of electromagnetic spectrum. But gravity is pretty much the primary force acting upon everyone at any given moment. And to not orient your training to your body to better handle that is like, once you realize that, you're like, why didn't anyone tell me this 20 years ago?
Yeah.
But again, that's not saying much if you can't measure it. So
Right.
I think I'll leave it at that, because that was a good aha moment for me 5 years ago, 5 to 10 years ago. I don't even remember. It's like a very blurry continuum
Right.
of health.
Yeah,
Right? I'm
as
sure
the
you get
early
it.
20s are, I get that.
Right.
So I have questions for you. Now that you're chatting about this, like, do you
Yeah,
work with athletes then? Because this seems like the perfect training for an athlete.
I am planning to.
Okay.
It's unfortunately a lot of athletes are normalize their chronic pain. It's like part of the game.
Yeah. Right.
So that requires a lot more than me knowing how to resolve it.
Right.
It's a lot more of me learning how to coach someone before we even sign up for a program,
Mm-hmm.
and like ask them questions about their motivations and limiting beliefs and getting into that. Which I'll be honest, I'm not very good at that right now. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm super blessed to find clients who met me where I'm at, and I can meet them where they're at and get them
Yes.
results. But I'm on my own journey, right? Of like, okay, I don't have the apnea, I don't have the eczema. Like now, I'm like challenging myself with business stress. Like, how can I manage that with the exercise and nutrition? Like, what's the next level for those? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of getting there. So yeah, athletes, it's like seeing someone run into a brick wall over and over and over again, and you're like, how about you run another direction? You're like,
Right.
but I've always done it this way. How about if I just run at an angle?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, I don't think there's a conversation to be had here.
Right.
I
You
really wish
almost
there was.
need you almost need like to be on a team with like a sports psychologist to like break
Right.
down those mental blocks first
Yeah.
before physiological blocks can be broken.
Yeah. So that's in the works. I'm working on that.
I love
And
that.
hopefully I've had a couple athletes so far. One actually, hopefully this is still on my Instagram. I may need to pin it again, but put it in the story highlights. There was a guy who came to me for flat feet because he wanted to get into MMA. And we just happened to address his anxiety. Like, he got grounded and aligned in his posture enough that he felt a discernible difference in his day-to-day anxiety. Because he trained his
Wow.
posture, he trained his alignment, he trained where his breath was going. Like, where in his back was he super tight? His ribs are super stuck. Where was that? How do we train that? How do we get him to breathe into those areas by connecting everything head to toe?
I love that. It's like
Yeah.
you're like a yoga teacher, acupuncturist, counselor, sports therapist, like all in one.
Yeah. So chronic pain specialist is as specific I can get right now, but I'm working on a better title soon. But anyways,
I love this. I think it's cool because you really do store pain and trauma and anxiety and things in your
for sure,
body in
for
different
sure,
ways. And if you think like, if you've got chronic pain, a lot of it might be a mental blockage, an emotional trauma blockage as well
for
that
sure,
you're holding
for sure.
on to, right? Because we definitely hold in different areas. So the reason I was asking about athletics, so I have a
Yeah,
daughter, she's 14.
yeah,
She sprints. She's a
yes,
sprinter. As you know,
yes,
sprinting is very hard on the body. It's very
yes,
painful.
yes,
And she's 14, so she's growing. And also she's 14. So like, does this kid eat ever? No. Does she
yeah,
wear proper footwear? No.
yeah.
But she's constantly in pain. And so
Mm.
I feel like we're forever in physio, chiro, massage, acupuncture, whoever will see this kid to try and help relieve the pain. And then she starts to feel good. And then she does a 100-meter race, and then she's in pain again,
Hmm.
and this is constant because she does it all year long.
Yeah,
And so I'm listening to you talk about like this sort of chronic pain. And to me, at first, I thought chronic pain is like someone older who's gone through stuff. But no, like I watched my daughter for the last 2 years. She has been in constant pain with this,
Mm-hmm.
I don't even want to call it an injury, just strain,
Yeah.
I guess, wear and
Yeah.
tear. And she's
Yeah.
only 14. And so I'm
Yeah.
thinking like, okay, how can someone like Alex Shulman help my daughter? You know, how can Strong Sapien Systems help my child when nothing else has helped her?
I do want to mention I am training I think she might be 13, but like 13 or 14-year-old girl right now with scoliosis, or
Okay.
or she had it for sure. She doesn't have any pains right now, but I'm like harassing her mom, like, get the X-rays again,
Mhm.
please. Like, I want to see. Like, she doesn't have
Right.
pains, so there must be some results. But
Yes.
that's an aside. But yeah, it's. I mean, I'm sure as a mom you understand. Like, you'd be surprised like how smart kids can be
Hmm.
if it's like if you clearly lay out the result of like, oh, you like to. I'm sure she likes what she's
Loves
doing,
it.
running.
Yes.
So if you clearly lay out like you like to do this, let's make sure you can keep doing it and not be in pain while you do it, and not worry about pain before, like the days before an event or a practice.
Hmm.
And they take to it pretty quick. I've been surprised. Like I'm not used to training kids. That was my like first kid client,
Hmm.
and I was like, I mean, it's honestly she's better than some adults. You know, to be honest, it's like
They're moldable. They
yeah,
don't have the
yeah, it's
same
like
sort of
yeah,
mindset or the same like routines that an adult might.
yeah. There's less like deliberation in their head when you give like a coaching cue and direction. It's like, wow, this is awesome. Like I wish
Well, they
everyone was like
know
this.
that someone in authority has told them they have to do something. So usually they have to do it. Otherwise, they're going to get in trouble from
Right,
their mom or dad. Right. So, yeah, I
right.
could see them being very flexible.
Yeah. So it's yeah. There's definitely healing is possible, and I kind of want to like segue a little bit because I wanted to just mention the nutrition side.
Yes, please.
It's it's very it's such so easily messy. It's so easily. This is probably the topic, probably probably the top one that gets muddied the most, the easiest, like most frequent.
Hmm.
It's crazy. It's like to give someone some. It's first you say like the principle of eating is kind of just nourishment.
Right.
And what is when you just like define that? What does that mean? Like, do you feel like your energy is getting better? Not just staying the same, getting better. Do you
Hmm.
feel like you're getting stronger? That you're feeding your body and getting this result that's subjective, but still matters to you, right?
Hmm.
So, in terms of like, let me give some like concrete like measurements for people out there. Again, this are kind of like you can start this journey and find these metrics and use them for however long. Coaching program puts that into the metrics that I use to make sure you're getting progress. But offhand from the same guy, Ray Pete, you can measure your resting temperature, like morning resting temperature, and your resting heart rate. It's like once you wake up, what's the temperature? Use like the basic like thermometer under the tongue, and you're aiming for that 98.6 Fahrenheit
Hmm.
without an elevated heart rate, because an elevated heart rate means you're using adrenaline, cortisol,
Right.
stress hormone. And that in itself, if you track and measure that, like if you try to get, like most people are like around 97 and a half, 97. When they really start to feel like not good,
Hmm.
that is what I tend to see, especially for women. They tend to have a lower resting body rate because I know for environmental factors, for stress factors, what have you. Uh, women have a monthly cycle, men have a daily cycle, so it's just easier for that for men, but it still matters, right? If you can track your temperature fluctuation in their monthly cycle, then you can get a trend month to month.
Right.
But the reason you want to be at 98.6 is because that's how the body evolved to function.
Hmm.
Like you people, some I've heard that like a lower body temperature means less inflammation, and that's like that sounds right, like without thinking about it. Oh, inflame, flame, fire,
Right.
temperature. Like, okay, but wait, you felt good at 98.6 when you were younger. So I don't think you were inflamed then. If you were,
Mm-hmm.
there's probably a time you weren't. You just go far back enough. So the principle is that you're trying to get to this kind of youthful state, like quote unquote, with these measurements. With like, most kids have good posture by default, but obviously there are cases like your daughter or like more and more kids today, unfortunately, from environmental factors, probably before birth even,
Mm-hmm.
that influence that. But you look at old pictures of kids, they tend to like not see any visible issues. There weren't any specific interventions like 100 years ago. And if somebody had a postural or other issue, it was like crazy. It was like 1 in a million.
Oh yeah.
So that's a long way of saying like measurements in nutrition is possible. And you
Mm-hmm.
don't have to get like thousands of dollars of blood tests a year to do that. In fact, it's almost like destructive to be distracted by all these measures and metrics and having to figure out, okay, what's changing on a daily basis. Lots of nutritional markers are changing on a daily basis. It's like that's how varied like your nutrition intake can be. And so what is the primary goal of your fitness and nutrition? It's to feel better, have more energy, feel stronger day to day.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just wanted to state that principle again, tracking your resting body temperature, 98.6, tracking your heart rate. The range is a little more forgiving there, like 60 to 80. There's a misconception that the lower your heart rate is, the healthier you are. That quickly becomes untrue at 0 because then you're dead. So
Right. Right.
probably not where you want to base your health
Uh,
decisions off of.
yes.
And there's a whole rabbit hole of like how much endurance work actually is hurting your health and how much is like, can you manage and the person by person basis and all that,
Mm-hmm.
yada yada. But if I could just sum up what I've said, I want to be as helpful to the person listening as possible. I came into this with that idea. Measure how you stand, walk, run, and throw. Like measure, like find some discernible difference, even if it's like if your hips are teeter tottering when you're running. That's a great place to start. Don't let them do that. Don't think about it while you're running full tilt because that's kind of impossible. You can train so that changes and you don't have to think about it. Don't be neurotic about it. Easier said than done. You will be, and that's okay. It's overcomable. Some people's neurotic stage lasts longer than most. Mine lasted quite a while, maybe 10 years. It's okay. We're past it now. But yeah, measure those, find a discernible difference. Measure your nutrition by is your resting body temperature improving, getting to that 98.6 without the heart rate coming up. And those two together, like alone, like nutrition, we don't even have to get into that because you'd have to take 10 of these podcasts, honestly. But those two together do a lot. Like if you really refine those simple things, like the eczema, the apnea, the chronic joint pain I had, really I could credit it to those two things, like doing those really, really well. And now I'm thinking like, okay, like how do I stress test again? Like how do I stress test beyond the sprinting because I want to live my life?
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm thinking about this hike I'm going on Saturday. It's like, okay, this is probably going to be like a moderate hike, but I don't want to have knee pain. The last time I didn't really, but I had more quad soreness than gluten hamstring soreness. This is kind of my thought process here for me. It's like that can easily be neurotic, but I'm measuring how well I stand, walk, run, and throw, so I don't have to think like, oh, is my pinky toe active in my every step or whatever. It's like, where are you going to put your energy to get the most result?
Mm-hmm.
How are you sure that result is getting to where you want to be and this identity of who you want to be? So I'm just looking at the clock, so hopefully I summed that up
No, that's okay.
pretty
Like
well.
I said, it's pretty flexible around here.
Okay,
If the
okay.
conversation goes, it goes. Yeah, no, I think this is awesome. I think a lot of people, like you're right, they just think that chronic pain is normal. This is just life. You know, people don't even realize that aging is literally a disease. Like inflammaging is a thing. You
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
have to
Yeah.
be old, or like women who are my age and older going through menopause. Like that doesn't have to hurt either. Like these
Yeah.
are things that we've been
Yeah.
taught to believe, even for girls, young girls, like period cramps, whatever.
Yeah.
It does not have to hurt, because, you know, you can work through these things. You can change
Yeah.
your lifestyle
Yeah.
to better support you in these things. So I love what you're doing. I think it's amazing that you're opening up the conversation about, you know, chronic pain, that you don't have to live like this.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's awesome. And the fact that you're young, like not to in any way discredit that you're young, but I just think you're very mature for, you know, 27. I'm trying to remember me at 27. Like, you know, like I think it's cool. Like I had zero desire to help anybody at 27. And the fact that you've, you know, made a career out of this, I think is beautiful.
Thank you.
So congratulations on being just a really in tune kind of guy.
Yeah. No longer a entrepreneur.
I like that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So if somebody wanted to contact you, find you, have you coach them, have you teach them, how can they reach you?
Yeah. So typically Facebook and Instagram, or email, I guess. And the email is easy because my Instagram handle is Strong Sapien.
Okay.
Purposely misspelled because sapiens. Oh yeah. Is it there?
I don't know. I'm backwards, so that's why. Right
It's
under Alex.
somewhere on the bottom. Somewhere on the bottom.
Yes.
I'll just spell
At
it out
Strong
so
Sapien.
it's easier. SAP. That's right.
Gives a beauty in your face.
STRONG. I skipped that. STRONG
Yes.
SAPIEN.
Okay.
And so at Gmail or at Strong Sapien on Instagram, both of those work. And yeah.
Amazing. Well, I am so thankful that you're here today. I feel very inspired. Again, like knowing that I don't have to live this way forever. I don't have to wake up completely sore. And I
No.
have a big goal of running too. Like that's
Yeah.
what I really want to do. Right before I got sick, I bought track shoes. I was going to start running. You know, obviously my child hates that I want to have this dream, the same dream as her. But like, you know, I ran before she ever was even a thought, you know? So I'm like, I want to run again. And then I got sick, and then I just haven't even looked at my shoes. They're sitting in a box brand new in my closet. And it's like, that's my goal. I want to get there. So, you know, knowing that I can get there is
sorry. Yeah. I just want to say everyone deserves the ability to run, jump, and play.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone deserves that. No matter what age, no matter what level, like everyone.
I tell a lot of the people that I see, you know, like the best way to open your lymphatic system is jumping. Jumping is great. Get on a rebounder, go do jumping jacks, you know, and most people, I kid you not, I can't. It hurts too bad. My organs are bouncing around. I'll pee myself. My back would never support it. And I'm like, you have to. Jumping is so good for you.
Yeah. They are experiencing accelerated aging. That's just
I'm telling
what's
you,
happening.
inflammaging. It's a disease.
Yeah.
So I had a 20-year-old girl in here. I can't. My organs will bounce around.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
My girl, get on that trampoline.
Yeah.
I know. Well, I thank you so much for being here. I can't wait to, I'm actually going to pick your brain. I'm going to message you after the show, and I'm going to pick your brain more and see if maybe you can coach my daughter, because we're desperate for her.
Help. Let's see if it's a good fit. Might as well.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. So make sure you check out Alex at Strong Sapien on Instagram, or strongsapien@gmail.com. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
No problem. Amazing. Love him. I cannot wait to actually get connected with him more. Again, I always say this at the end of every show. Like, I feel like I'm tooting my own horn, but like this season, the client or the interviews that we've had on here, just honestly like speak to my soul so much, speak to my experience, what I'm going through. And I really hope that it helps as somebody else out there, even if one person hears this and is like, hey, I want to start running, I want to start jumping, I want to be better, I love that for you. So please check out Alex at Strong Sapien on Instagram, or strongsapien@gmail.com. Or you can find him on Facebook. I believe it's just his name. But yeah, check us out next week on Tuesday, not Wednesday. We'll be back on Tuesday with another episode. Bye.